Hi everyone, I'm Kevin Elson for Catholic Newsbreak. Here's what's happening this week in the news. We begin with news from the Vatican. One of Pope Benedict's first official engagements during his trip to Germany included speaking to the German Parliament. Though about 100 members boycotted the event, the Pope received an enthusiastic applause from the Parliament when he spoke on issues such as respect for human nature and equality of all men. Rome Reports now has more on the Pope's words.
During his speech before Germany's parliament, the Pope challenged all politicians to recognize right from wrong. Upon arrival, he was greeted with a long applause by his fellow German countrymen. Even though roughly 100 members of parliament boycotted his speech, their absence went mostly unnoticed, since some of their seats were occupied by former members of parliament. In his speech, the Pope talked, among other things, about the Nazis' rise to power and the importance of recognizing human rights. He went on to reflect on how a legislator or lawmaker can distinguish between good and evil.
In einem Großteil der rechtlich zu regelnden Materien kann die Mehrheit ein genügendes Kriterium sein. Aber dass in den Grundfragen des Rechts, in denen es um die Würde des Menschen und der Menschheit geht, das Mehrheitsprinzip nicht ausreicht, ist offenkundig.
Germany's past was also part of his speech. He described the anti-Nazi resistance fighters as heroes because they knew how to distinguish right from wrong. They knew it was just a fight against something that was lawful, yet unfair. He also highlighted that Christianity has never imposed a so-called body of law to the state or to society, but rather it has appealed to nature and reason as true sources of law. Along those same lines, the Pope said that when judgment is based only on functionality, justice becomes endangered. He also called for, quote, human ecology, which focuses on having respect for human nature.
Auch der Mensch hat eine Natur, die achten muss und die nicht beliebig manipulieren kann. Der Mensch ist nicht nur sich selbst machende Freiheit. Der Mensch macht sich nicht selbst. Er ist Geist und Wille. Er ist Geist und Wille, aber er ist auch Natur. Und sein Wille ist dann recht, wenn er auf die Natur achtet, sie hört und sich annimmt als der er ist und der sich nicht selbst gemacht hat.
The Pope added that having faith in a God who created humankind and nature and also blessed people with dignity has allowed the West to recognize the equality of all men.
Von der Überzeugung eines Schöpfergottes her ist die Idee der Menschenrechte, die Idee der Gleichheit aller Menschen vor dem Recht, die Erkenntnis der Unantastbarkeit der Menschenwürde in jedem einzelnen Menschen und das Wissen um die Verantwortung der Menschen für ihr Handeln entwickelt worden. Diese Erkenntnisse der Vernunft bilden unser kulturelles Gedächtnis.
In closing, he asked all European politicians to protect the standards of justice that are now part of Western tradition. But there was also room for laughter. The president of Germany's parliament accidentally stepped on the Pope's cassock. It drew some smiles, including one from Chancellor Angela Merkel.
After speaking at Parliament, the Pope headed over to Berlin's Olympic Stadium to celebrate Mass for about 70,000 Catholics. In news now from around the country, Pope Benedict XVI has accepted the resignation of Archbishop Daniel Buechlein of Indianapolis for health reasons. The Archbishop is 73 years old, 2 years younger than the age at which bishops are required by canon law to turn in their resignation to the Pope. Over the past 3 years, he's suffered a series of health problems. In March of this year, he suffered a mild stroke, which has him confined to a wheelchair. And in 2008, he was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma and underwent a successful course of chemotherapy and radiation treatments. And the Archbishop said he planned to return to his roots as a Benedictine monk at the St. Meinrad Archabbey in southern Indiana. Archbishop Buechlein has headed the Indianapolis Archdiocese since 1992. Auxiliary Bishop Christopher Coyne was named apostolic administrator of the Archdiocese by the Pope until a permanent successor is named by the Vatican. In other news from around the country, New York Archbishop Timothy Dolan, president of the U.S. Bishops' Conference, has sent President Barack Obama a letter informing the president that his administration's fight against the Defense of Marriage Act, a DOMA, will undermine marriage and create a serious breach of church-state relations. The DOMA law defines marriage as between one man and one woman. In the letter, the Archbishop argues that it's especially wrong and unfair to equate opposition to redefining marriage with either intentional or willfully ignorant racial discrimination, as he said the Obama administration is insisting on doing. Archbishop Dolan underscored the Church's position, recognizing the immeasurable personal dignity and equal worth of all individuals, including those with same-sex attraction, and he said the Church rejects all hatred and unjust treatment against any person. But he called for dialogue with the President on the DOMA and the definition of marriage as a union of man and a woman. And finally in the news, according to a panelist at a recent webinar sponsored by the National Catholic Partnership on Disability, renewed momentum to legalize physician-assisted suicide is being caused by an increase in the number of movies that present assisted suicide in a positive light. Capuchin Franciscan Father Dan Meindling, academic dean at Mount St. Mary's Seminary in Emmitsburg, Maryland, pointed to the PG-13 rated $1 Million Baby and The Sea Inside as examples because they suggest that some lives are not worth living. 2 weeks before the webinar, Massachusetts Attorney General Martha Coakley certified the language of an initiative for the November 2012 ballot that would make assisted suicide legal in the Commonwealth. This means supporters of the initiative can start to gather the almost 70,000 signatures required for the initiative's effort to continue. Boston's Cardinal Sean O'Malley strongly condemned the proposal in a homily at the annual Red Mass sponsored by the Catholic Lawyers Guild of Boston. He said that he hoped the citizens of the Commonwealth will not be seduced by words like dignity and compassion, which are means to disguise the sheer brutality of helping people to kill themselves. Well, that is all the information we have for you at this time. Please stay with Catholic TV for more Catholic news. Until then, I'm Kevin Nelson, and I'll see you next time on Catholic Newsbreak.